Your eyes,
You ready?
yeah. It's born ready.
Hi, this is John Person, and you're watching MarketHeist.com.
We are live with John Person, creator of Person's Pivot and Person's Pivot Study Indicator. John, tell me and our viewers, did you always want to be a trader?
Well, actually, I started on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange when I was 16 as a runner, and it was a summer job. I really enjoyed going down there, the lights, and looking at people. But my real passion, I was going to school to become a lawyer. It wasn't until I was studying at Loyola University, I was an economics major, I was taking an exam, and on a train ride back from school, I sat next to a man by the name of George Lane. George, for some of the viewers may not know, is the innovator and the creator of an indicator called Stochastics. And George gave me an invitation to see him at his office and for someone to help him after part-time. And I came down to see him, fell in love with what was going on in his office, and that was 1980. I've been in the business ever since.
Did you work on the trading floor?
I did. I worked on both the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the Chicago Board of Trade. I got my real knack for trading in the markets through George. And I used to watch him trading. He was really into day trading live cattle and soybeans. He used a 5 and 15-minute combination time frame. That's really what I got a knack for, and I applied that in my day trading routine for a spectrum of different markets. Back in those days, not only did we learn about stochastics, we learned about this secret math formula that everyone was using, and everyone kept really close to the heart. No one ever wanted to show anyone what they were doing. Everyone had their own numbers. It turns out it was pivot point analysis. But I've used pivots and developed and changed the way pivots are used through the last 30 years by devising a system that helps me filter out the excess support and resistance levels by using a technique that employs use of moving averages. And moving averages really have been instrumental across all traders' aspects. Many equity traders use the 200-day moving average, exponential, weighted, and I used pivots as a component of the moving average. So one of the first people ever that's really probably discussed not just using the close as a parameter of a moving average, but using the typical price. That's what I did to help me incorporate and create what you see as Person's Pivots and the Person Pivot Study, otherwise known as PPS on thinkorswim's platform.
Do you prefer to use your daily pivots, your weekly pivots, or do you use that in combination with your indicator? How do you prefer to use your system?
Well, for different time frames, like for example, if I'm day trading, I look at all time frames, quite frankly. I look at monthly. I always start left and then work right. So look at your higher degree time frame and then work down. So I'll look at monthly because sometimes we might have a narrow range day, and the pivot points are only going to target and project out the next time periods of support and resistance based on the prior day's data. So if you have a narrow range, abnormally small range day, the next day is going to not give you a true value change. So it is important to look at the monthly time frame. Think of it this way. In every given month, there's approximately 4 business weeks. Out of every business week, there's 5 trading days. One day of 1 week in a month will mark a high and a low. So it's important to first start off, look at your monthly targets, then narrow it down to weekly, and then of course use your dailies. So when I'm day trading, I do look at 1 resistance for the month, 1 resistance for the week, 1 resistance for the day. Those numbers won't come into play until the market gets to those levels. And when they do, that's when I incorporate another dimension or a different technique, which is what the PPS study is all about.
How long has the PPS study been around?
Well, I developed the PPS probably 10 years ago. I used it for myself, and I also owned a brokerage firm, so I had my traders were able to use that. In my first book, I kind of talked about candles and pivots combined, and I talked about various different moving averages that I alluded to. A lot of people kind of got upset with that because it never gave the true secret formula, so then I came out with the second book titled Candles and Pivots Trading Triggers. And I went into a lot more detail of what the PPS and how to devise a trading system with using pivot point analysis. So that's where that really came about and how I've been using it through the years and decades.
And we can find your work on thinkorswim.
Well, thinkorswim has a licensed study called PPS, Person's Pivot Study, as well as Person's Pivots. Also, I work with other individual trading platforms like Genesis Trade Navigator and even TradeStation. So there's different areas, different platforms that people can use my work, and they can always read the books and go out and devise and develop their own work and use it in Excel for those that are capable of using Excel.
Well, John, would you recommend people devise their own indicator? How long did that take you, or what was the process like?
Well, for people to develop their own indicator, I mean, I think a lot of people that are coming into the markets are so used to 80–90% of the people supposedly lose money trading. 80–90% of the people are all using the same indicators that are supplied to them. Many people don't understand what these indicators are based on. When I say an indicator, maybe stochastics, MACD, Bollinger Bands, they're all using the same thing, or they're using moving averages, and everyone talks about a 200-day moving average based on a close, or maybe it's an exponential or weighted moving average, but the parameter is still taking value change off a close. If a trader wants to get ahead of the crowd, I think there are better ways of using other indicators that it will give you maybe a quicker response time when there's a shift in momentum or a change in market tides. And so people can utilize and start to develop their own indicators, but definitely study and learn what the indicators and how you can use math applications to devise your own trading system.
Right. The reason I asked that is because you probably understand, or I'm sure you understand, Person's Pivots better than anybody else just because you spent so much time on it. Now, most people using it probably don't know how to use it correctly, or 60–70% of the time. So,
well, you know, it's real simple. Person's Pivot was devised based on a moving average formula. And what it is designed to do, not just give you what tomorrow or next week or next month's support and resistance is, based on the moving average, it really helps filter out what the condition of the market is, bullish or bearish. So let's say one day you have a range where the red line is resistance, the green is support, and the very next day it gives you a lower red and a lower green. Well, most people can assume if you have a lower high and a lower low, it's targeting the next time frame to be a bearish market condition. So that's what Person's Pivot does. It helps you to identify that the market condition is bearish, and if it's bearish, it shouldn't get much above or at that resistance. It might trade at that support or even lower. So it does two things. A, helps identify what condition the market's in, and B, gives you specific high and low or support and resistance targets for that condition.
John, it's really important for us to know how we can learn about your pivots. Where can we find information about them? Do you have a website that we can access and learn how to follow your pivots and your indicator?
Sure, absolutely. My website is nationalfutures.com. A wealth of information there. In fact, under Trading Tools tab, you can find information and articles that I've written on not just commitment traders reports, which is very vital information to find out whose hands the market's in control of. But also there's a pivot point calculator and articles that I've written on pivot points. That's free. You don't have to fill out your name or email or give us your firstborn name. Just go out there. If you want us to contact us, there is a spot there that says, hey, please contact me for further information.
All right, great.
Great. Thank you. This is marketheist.com with John Person.